Let's take a look at supply chain issues. How many of you have faced increased prices or an empty shelf where you needed to get an item? And it seems like those issues are going to be continuing for the foreseeable future. John Gradek is with us, lecturer, logistics professor at McGill University. John, welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Elias. Nice to be here.
So I guess there's a couple of ways we can go after this this topic here. Maybe we can start off with what we have seen, and then we can get into, what lies ahead. First things first, break it down for us right now. What are the issues in the supply chain right now?
COVID-19 is still there. We haven't got rid of it. It's still going to be impacting us for the foreseeable future. And we've got a major issue with respect to the impact of COVID-19 on one of our primary suppliers, of course, and that is China.
Uh-huh.
And China really is in the throes of trying to come to grips with the outbreaks in Shanghai and Beijing across northern China, and that is impacting the flow of goods from China as well as raw materials into the various plants in China, and they're having a hard time getting their production to be consistent with what their needs are.
John, so I do find that so interesting because to me it leads me to the question of like timelines, right? Because it was in the last month or so where we heard and we saw, right, these videos that somehow got out of the country of citizens that are being told you got to stay in your homes, and people even protesting and yelling out of their apartment buildings, and that's recent memory. And I would just love to know how quickly does a problem in China today reach the shelves of North America? What is the timeline on those types of issues?
I would say that, probably about 2 or 3 months. It's not something that you see instantaneously. They've got to produce the product. They've got to get it from the plant to the port, put it into containers, load it onto ships, and then the ships have to snake their way across the Atlantic, the Pacific, or the Indian Ocean, depending on the routes they're taking. So by the time it hits the port of Los Angeles or the port of Vancouver, it's another 3 weeks, and then by the time it hits the trucks to your distributor, it's another 2 weeks. So it's about 12 to 14 weeks before we really see the impact. And you look at pictures of the Shanghai port, and you see the hundreds of ships that are just waiting to get handled at the Shanghai port. That's going to hit us in the next couple of months.
Well, so yeah, that's it. I'm doing the math. So if it happened a month ago in China and you said 12 weeks, I'm like, today plus 2 months, I say, uh-oh. So right. Do you think this summer will be a particularly rough one for Canadians who just want to buy items for their home?
Well, I think that it's not just China, Elias. It's there's a number of other countries that are caught in the backwash of China, and of course in the Russia-Ukraine battle as well. There's a whole slew of food products as well as the technology products that are in that supply chain interruption as well. So yeah, we're going to be looking at a compounding effect, both China and the Russia-Ukraine conflict affecting our store shelves and our ability to buy consumer products through the summer, at least.
John Gradek's with us, lecturer and logistics professor at McGill University. John, are companies getting better at putting all of their eggs in one basket, the China basket? I know Apple, for example, but Apple's a very big company and they've got lots of resources. I know Apple now is producing iPhones in India. Like Foxconn has opened up a factory in India to produce iPhones there. Are companies getting smarter? Are they going into more countries to produce things in more countries because they're worried about having all of their production in one place that could be affected by COVID-19 or a war or anything like that?
Well, I think the new strategy in supply chain sourcing these days is really cover your bases with multiple sourcing opportunities. So yeah, you've got your primary source of product, which could be China, could be Laos, could be Cambodia, could be Vietnam, could be India, could be Bangladesh. But all of those countries, you're looking at some risk associated with any one of those countries. So what organizations are trying to do now is trying to figure out where is it that we can basically source our products offshore to basically look at minimizing the amount of social political risk or economic risk that might be there. And more and more companies are basically saying we're going to reshore the stuff and bring the stuff back. We're going to get to a shorter supply chain, and we're going to pay the price of having a higher cost item, but that will be offset against making sure that you have product availability. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see a lot more stuff coming back into North America, into Mexico, into South America, into Western Europe. but that's going to increase the prices. So product will go up, availability will go up, but your prices will go up as well.
John, I want to go back to sort of the timeline question here, because I'm just thinking about, let's say, a typical listener of CJ 800, and, it's the beginning of May. They're excited about the summer. Maybe they're preparing their pool for another year at the pool, and they want to go to Canadian Tire or, Walmart, Costco, their local hardware store, and they want to buy some items for the backyard, right?
Yep.
Supply chain-wise, they're okay for this spring, this summer. Is it more down the line, like when they need stuff for the fall season, that you're expecting these impacts?
Well, I would say start your Christmas shopping early.
Wow.
And because by the time we get to September, October, we could be in a situation where we will, most assuredly have some shortages. I'm not even going to predict which items are going to run short. And I think that, you've got to really plan a lot further ahead in terms of your purchases than you basically have in the past. Spontaneous, purchases. Let's go buy an umbrella for the backyard. Let's go buy a new set of deck chairs for the back. You're okay now, but don't try to do that in July and August, because then you'll definitely have shortages start to show up in the supply chain.
John, thanks so much for taking the time for us this morning. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Elias. Have a great day. Take care.
John Gradek is a lecturer and logistics professor at McGill University.